Hey, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, your host, and today I am sick. I'm super freaking sick. I've got like the flu, COVID, I don't know. I got whatever the hell I've got, but we're here, we're riding. I actually didn't bring a beer with me tonight. That's how you know I'm actually sick. I brought my Problems or Profits mug, and I'm going to be having a tea with you guys tonight. But I encourage you all to go grab a beer. And I know you missed me last week, so I was like, we can't miss two in a row. I don't care how I feel. It's not happening. I was traveling last week, but we're back and we're riding and we're here. So tonight, um, I was gonna do like some MLS hunting, and Peter, for once in his life, made like a really sick thumbnail. And so I literally can't believe he would do it on the day that I'm sick, but he did it kind of as a gift to me, a little bit of charity. He knew I was feeling bad. So he's like, I'm gonna actually make a good thumbnail tonight. So I hope this is our biggest live stream ever, because that thumbnail's sick, and I hope that's why you came here too, not just to see me. But the purpose of the stream was really to like go MLS hunting, and then I opened up the MLS today in preparation for this, and that was actually a bit of a chore for me because just getting off the couch was brutal today. But dude, MLS sucks right now. MLS is not looking so hot. Like, there's not a lot of deals. I couldn't find very much that was exciting in terms of the multifamily space. And I think it's some combination of like either realtors aren't really using the functions of MLS properly and like actually listing their properties with the proper like tags so that we can search effectively. And like another combination of just like, the spring market's not quite set in yet. We shot our first market update this week for January. And January was like, we're starting to see volume come up, starting to see average median prices come up. We're starting to see days on market going down in this market. We're starting to see months of inventory going down. So that's good too. So there's lots of transactions starting to happen. And I suspect February will have even more. And then for March, there should be a lot more. One moment. God, I can't wait to read the comments on this. Like, Adam, are you okay? Oh, Rockpile, making tea in my honor. Thank you. Thank you. I'm having like okay, well, we might as well talk about my tea. We always talk about my beer. This is a Twinings London pure peppermint tea. Okay. And tonight, I think I'm going to roll on some chamomile lavender. And I, of course, have a bunch of like wildflower honey in here right now, which is making me feel good. I usually go like all natural on my cold remedies. And the last couple of days, I tried out like the Dayquil, NyQuil thing. And I don't know what the hell's in there, but it made me feel all freaky. So I'm not, I don't think I'm a fan of that. I think I'll go au naturel from now on. Just honey. Honey cures all. Honey and lemons. So I made a mistake there. And now I'm all freaking weird. But anyways, back to this MLS stuff. So if we can just bring up my screen share here. Pete, thank you. I was looking around, right? And of course, you guys know, like, I spent most of my time searching for deals in and around London. So like, when I look at London, that's like the kind of one of the cities that I like to use as an example when I do these streams, because these streams aren't really so much about breaking down a specific deal for you, so much as it is like showing you my process of breaking down a deal so that you can take any deal off the MLS and go and download my calculator and use the same exact sheet to break down any deal that you like, right? It's like kind of the whole teach you how to fish thing rather than give you a fish. So it's still nice though to like find deals that are like somewhat appropriate to look at. So I like this property here. So I went back to London. I searched up fourplexes. So like I went over here on the main screen, right? And I went to filters. I looked at fourplexes, which you can do here. I looked at triplexes and I looked at duplexes. And this isn't always the best way to find this type of thing, because sometimes what will happen is you actually get more results by going type any, and then you can add like fourplex here, or you could write it in like fourplex. You could write in triplex. You could write in duplex, and you might actually get like more results than if you cycled through each of these, just if they weren't like, they might not be properly labeled. Oh yeah, see, like that's a lot of results, right? And so we'll just comb through here right now quick and just see if there was anything else exciting. And what I like to do too, like newest is actually not a terrible way to filter this. If you're just coming back to the MLS after a couple of days, you can see like, this is 5 days ago or whatever, but you'd be able to see like, oh, this is 10 hours ago. Like maybe I like this, right? Um, this properties on Central Ave, they're always interesting. Matt and Adam had one of those big properties there. They're like big Victorian houses, all lath and plaster and fun. Oh, this one's renovated nicely. I like all this. Oh, I think we probably know who owns this. But really nice renovation, right? Like maximizing all the space in here. But like right away, when again, like part of my process, right? Click on it quick, go look at the photos, see if there's see if there's any improvements that you could make to increase the value of the building. And if not, then immediately just kind of move on, right? Because we're generally speaking looking for value add investments, unless we know for sure it's a slam dunk and we can just come in and get great rents and have it cash flow. So right away at like 1.2, I'm just going to ditch that. But yeah, that's what I like to do, right? Is just like look at newest first, or you can go cheapest as well if you really want. And then like kind of these won't be the ones that are newest usually at the bottom. But sometimes what you can do is you can see something that's been sitting. So like this thing might have been sitting here forever. And you could come in and like, maybe you come in and submit. So this is 50 days on market. It's not forever, but it's not really a short period of time. So like maybe you come in here and you offer something aggressive, right? Just toss an offer at it. But when I did do this search, a couple of properties that I found were kind of interesting were this 570 Rosedale. So if you look at this, oh, sorry, I've got it over here. Was it 584? No, 570. Why is it bringing me this? 570 Rosedale in London. And what you can see here, so when we kind of look at London, right? And this is the same sort of thing to do with every city, is like trying to understand where in the city your property is. So like this is somewhat close to downtown, like this being the downtown core. And you know that like generally speaking, you enter London, probably on Highbury, maybe Veterans Memorial, or like way down here at like Colonel Talbot or something. So like it's basically, you come into the city, it's like pretty deep into the city. It's very deep into the city if you're coming from the south, which everybody is. And then you're going to have to go like west several blocks to get closer into the downtown core. And then you'll notice here you cross Adelaide Street, and Adelaide Street kind of divides the city. I don't want to say with like the haves and the have-nots, but it's basically the haves and the have-nots. Okay. So east of Adelaide, not the same thing as west of Adelaide. West of Adelaide is a much nicer area. It's called Woodfield. It's my favorite neighborhood in London. Beautiful houses, great gardens, established neighborhood with old Victorian houses that are nice and large usually. So it's nice to have a little multifamily there, because people like of higher quality tenants will seek out neighborhoods like this, compared to if you were like down here south of Hamilton, east of Adelaide, right? Where you can see I own a building. Okay, because I'm an idiot. You can see here my favorite dry cleaner in London is somehow right here. So there you go. Boom, 4.8 closes soon. Go get your dry cleaning dropped off there. Pete, we should call them for a sponsorship after this. And yeah, great cafe right here. So anyways, 570 Rosedale, brick triplex. It rents out right now for 67,000. I think this is the one. Oh shit, hold on, let me look at this. Okay, so this one here rents out. Oh, this is the one that doesn't say. Son of a gun. Okay, well, this is going to bother me. But anyways, 575. So let's start with 575. So with 575,000, we'll bring that into the calculator for purchase price. So we go 575. And we'll assume ARV is probably, we'll see how the math works out if we want to play around with that. And we'll just see here. Mortgage rates, I always like to go check those when I'm looking in on this type of stuff. So like it looks like they're up a little bit from where we were looking at last time. Or yeah, so like they're basically the same. So like 5.7. TD mortgage prime rate 7.35. Holy sweet. Holy sweet. Okay, so whatever. We'll keep it at 5.8. That's fine. It was the next property that was 67,000. So actually, you know what? We can even assume that this one's actually a very similar rent level because it's probably similar to that. And then we can look at what it would look like if we renovated it versus if we did nothing, right? So if you walk into this deal right now and you just kind of buy it, we want to understand like what would happen if it's got like older tenants in it. This does have actually a vacant unit, so we might just assume right away. So we'll not look at that. We'll look at a rental budget. Usually I spend like 40K in a unit pretty easily, depending on what needs to be done. And then you could probably get some really good rents there. Let's just call it 2,400. Bringing our total monthly rents on a building like that, if the others were sort of under rented at like, older rents, we'd be looking at something like 6,300 a month, giving us a actual positive cash flow of quite a lot, right? So I like that deal. In terms of like its location and how it's set up, it's really close to some pretty good schools. We've got a vacancy coming with it, and there's actually an opportunity to get a second vacancy. And I think that that really makes it exciting when you think about like what you can possibly do with this space in terms of rent potential. So, like, again, like in Woodfield, you have the option here because you will have the actual ceiling price that you can go for. Like, you can actually renovate this to like whatever the maximum standard is these days, like all new cabinets, new backsplash, new flooring if you want, and you would actually be able to extract that value out on the appraisal, or you could just leave it. It's the type of neighborhood where you could just leave it and we'll still rent. Vacancy in this neighborhood is going to be like zero, right? The other building that I actually found that I like was this one here, and it's kind of a weird one. And I'm not sure like what my real thoughts are on it, but it's here at 393 William Street. So we'll go check it out where it is in the city. It's right by our favorite Subway, right? Oh yeah, we've already talked about this deal too. But like we're talking about it again because it actually is really exciting. So it's right by our favorite Subway and it's still here and it's still kind of exciting, right? Like it makes 67,000 or 62,700, right? And we covered the numbers on this before. Like it's actually pretty badass when you just look at the numbers here. To see like 689, 900, what you could do with this property. Like I like it. Cash flow, right? So I don't know, like it looks like a junker, but it's really not. And like this location, it's a little sketchy, but there's so much opportunity there in that downtown core little area. And like for as sketchy as that Subway is, I think the only thing that this like the actual only argument against this building maybe is the parking. Um like it's fine, but you're kind of exposed here to the sketchiness on the street. But man, it's so close to everything that I don't even know. It looks like a decent opportunity. But yeah, this is like literally all I could find. Like I was looking around and I came over here, I looked at like Kitchener, I looked at Guelph, I looked at um Waterloo, I looked at I looked everywhere and like it's just the MLS is just kind of stale right now. And I think like that's the most real thing I can tell you on the channel is like sometimes like there's just no deals here. And I am excited because we are heading into the spring market to see that like we're going to be having a lot more traction in terms of like new listings coming up. Um, and that like, that excites me for this next season, but this is just brutal right now. Like, what the hell is all this? This is garbage, right? Like these aren't good. Like if you look in here and you come over here and let's say you're fourplex hunting. Watch this. Yeah, one. Great. Thank you. There's one over here. There actually should be more. Um, Here, we'll cancel that. What the hell is going on now? But look at this. This is crazy. There's like no there's no properties that are fourplexes. And like at this point, like that's kind of what I'm looking for. So when I came on to do this stream, I was a little bit worried today because I was like, like there's got to be deals out there. We're always saying like there's always deals, there's deals in every market. But like sometimes it's just really frustrating on MLS when you comb through here and you just don't find anything. So maybe we should just talk about that. Like, what do you actually do when there is no deals? And I think this goes back to like a lot of the problems I talked about in my ebook Liftoff, which is all about like, business is all about revenue generating activities, right? And so almost all of your time should be focused on actually doing the things that generate you revenue and finding those opportunities. So like for a real estate investor, a large part of that is actually finding deals, right? And so when you come on the MLS here and you're like, well, fuck, there's no deals. Like that was, kind of useless. This stream sucks because like you just showed me two properties I'm never going to buy. And it's like, I know, man. I totally hear you. And I totally get it because I was in that same seat too. But there are some ways that you can like avoid that trap, right? Because the MLS is not actually the only place to find properties. It's just the most convenient. And so what's going to end up happening is a lot of people will stop right here and just be like, okay, well, there's no deals for me, or I can't find the particular property I'm looking to buy on there, or like, the style, the location, whatever. And there's so many videos and so many people out there that have talked about it. But I think it's really important to remember that like there's a lot of other avenues. One way to do it is networking. Okay. So like getting out to real estate investor meetups, getting out to meetups for property managers, getting out to meetups around the town for like business development. So like, anything like go to a Toastmasters event or go to um, like a business development meeting for the city or city council or chamber of commerce. Like there's so many little opportunities to network with people who are going to have interesting opportunities for you to get into revenue generating activities. And part of that's just not like sitting at home staring at MLS all day waiting for a deal to pop up. Like sometimes you need to actually get out there. Like one thing I used to do is like go sit at the landlord tenant board and watch the trials, right? Like watch the tribunals. And you could see right away like who is actually sitting there. It was like upset landlords that want their tenants to pay and the tenants weren't paying. Those people are all potential sellers for you, right? Like approach those landlords when they're there. You can do that. Those tribunals are public. You can be there as long as you want, and you can go there every week and hunt them down. The other thing you can do is some door knocking, driving for dollars, right? We're looking for those houses that have like the tarps on the roof, okay? The broke down cars in the yard, right? The 400 dogs in the yard. That's always a thing. And those types of houses, like they're pretty easy once you get the hang of it, of just asking like, hey, like I'm looking to buy in the neighborhood. Do you know anybody that might be looking to sell? That's always what I go with. Like, don't make it about them. Don't make it standoffish. You don't have to be weird about it. Just say, I'm looking to buy a house in the neighborhood. Would you happen to know anybody that might be able to help me out? And they might just like literally look at you and tell you, like, yeah, I'll sell my house to you right now. I've had it happen. Or you might knock 100 doors and they'll tell you absolutely nothing and you get nowhere. But my point is, like, you have to take action, right? Like, taking massive action on these types of things is really important. And like, even today, right? Like, I shouldn't be here talking to you guys. And if there's anybody still on this stream, God bless you, because like I just sound like shit. And obviously, like, I'm kind of disjointed and tired right now. But the point of owning a business and being an entrepreneur is not that it's going to feel good all the time, right? Like there's days where you just don't want to go to work, but the reality is like nobody else is working for you when you are not working, right? Like there's nobody covering your shift. There's nobody that's going to like finish your project for you on time and on budget and on scope. Like it's on you to like pick up the slack, right? So I think it's an important note to just know that, like, yeah, the MLS sometimes just doesn't have deals. And it doesn't matter if Peter made the best goddamn thumbnail you've ever seen. if there's no deals, like we just can't hunt them down, right? And so it comes down to us to like really start thinking outside the box. Like, what are we going to do about this next week? Like, what if next week there's still no deals? It's like, well, what plans do we put together in the meantime so that if there is no deals next week, we can go out to networking events, we can talk to people, we can talk to other investors, we can join Facebook groups, we can cold call people, we can go door knocking, we can go driving for dollars, right? We could join mastermind groups that are connected to mortgage lenders, you know, lawyers, contractors, property managers, garbage disposal companies, and waste removal companies. Like all of these people interact daily with homeowners that could be looking to sell, right? And it's not just them either. Like if you're into other types of property investments, like man, there's all sorts of ways you can take this. Like if you're into more luxury products, or if you're looking for capital, you can always talk to other professionals. Like, hey, I'm a real estate investor. I'm currently in a phase where we're waiting to identify deals. This is where we like to stack capital. This is where we like to be liquid so that when the deals come up, we can take action quickly, right? It's important to have that plan so that you're not like scrambling to get capital when the deals are all over the place. So that's another good point for right now. If there's no deals, find capital, right? If there's lots of deals, find lots of capital, right? It's like you should always be working on one of those two problems. And then the third problem, which is actually the biggest problem of all, it's actually the hardest thing to do, is finding the operating team, right? Who's going to actually do the work once the deal is found and the money's put together. The implementation is the hardest part, and it's worth 50% of the project at least, right? Because like finding the deal in the capital is probably 50%. The other 50% is actually implementing it to the point where you can get a tenant in there that will go to work for you for 40 hours a week to pay you to live there. That's the hard part. Jesus, I'm actually dying, guys. Holy smokes. Okay, Lady Space Patrol has a comment here. I bought my first home and I'm hoping to get into investment properties now. Is it worthwhile to pursue a duplex or triplex units that do not require renovation? Units already occupied by tenants. So it's a great question. And there's sort of a balance there in what upside you're looking for, right? So like one of the best ways to get to financial independence or financial freedom is to actually house hack, where you would actually like buy the triplex and live in one of the units and then rent the other two and have it pay for the building itself. But if you've already got your primary residence and you're looking to get into an investment property, then what I would suggest is you have to make a decision between what you want, right? Do you want to make active money, right? So like, do you want big lift on doing something like a flip or a burr, or do you just want some passive income? And so if there's established tenants, it's likely that they've been there for a little while, which means they're probably not paying market rents. And so depending on the price point you enter at, it might need a lot of work or it might need not much work, but you could still just naturally get a lift on the value of the building by that unit turning over once the original tenants leave, and then just bringing the rents up to market rent with some minor renovations. The other strategy is to buy a property that's in disrepair, add a lot of work, which requires skills, time, and money, right? Add a lot of work and then get a big value lift where each dollar you put in is often worth almost $2, right? So you're almost doubling your money in terms of what cash you actually put in on a good like burr investment. So I think it really comes down to like, how much time do you have? How many skills do you have? How much money do you have? And then what's your desired outcome, right? Because a fully tenanted building in Ontario is very hard to get turnover, right? You can't just evict people because you feel like it. It's just not a tool that's available to us, right? We have to follow the Landlord Tenant Board's rules and the Residential Tenancy Act. So, ideally, you buy buildings that have vacancies, you improve the units that are vacant to their highest and best use, and then you rent those out at the highest possible market rents, right? And so that's like kind of the strategy that works the best in terms of both cash flow and lift on value, but also in terms of maintenance, right? Because the problem with existing tenants is like, you don't really know their experience with the building. You don't really know who they are. You didn't vet them yourself. And it's always potential or possible that like they've been there forever and so they're not paying a lot and they don't really care about the building, right? And it's probably in slight disrepair, which leads them into like this like destructive like cycle of like whatever. It's the broken window effect, right? So if there's a broken window in a neighborhood, more shit gets broken. Like it's just always how it works. Excuse me. Um, on the other hand, when you do a renovation and you place A plus tenants or B plus tenants, you know what to expect from them, generally speaking. And you should expect that your building will not have defects or need repairs in the foreseeable future, right? So that's the other thing is like if you buy a building that's fully tenanted, there's only so much you can do while people live there. And so you're at risk kind of for having people um, impede your ability to renovate the building and like take care of its actual needs. And so that like nice building that you bought that like it had a bunch of old tenants and it either cash flows like $100 a month or whatever, or maybe you only lose a couple $100 a month. It sounds like it's an acceptable trade-off because you're paying down some of your equity, but then like the roof goes, right? Because it's an older building and you're not there every day. You're not looking at these things. You're not there compared to like when you do a full overhaul on a building, like you look at those other things while you're there and make sure that everything's set up right. Um, I'm more of like the go in, do everything at once type. But this building I'm sitting in right now, like we couldn't do that because it was tenanted. So we're going to slowly do turnovers. But these tenants are probably never going to leave, right? So you kind of have to balance that too. Like, what's the likelihood they leave? My tenants here are paying like half of market rent, so they're not going to leave, right? They're never going to leave. But you got to deal with like whatever comes with that. Now, I'm fortunate here. I have the best tenants I could ever have here. Like these tenants are fantastic. Um, and that too, like that's another factor, I guess. That's the fourth dimension is like it's what did I used to call it? the well, it's really just how much you care, right? Let's keep it PG today. It's how much do you care? Because like if you care a lot and like you you have a lot of energy to put up with BS, great. Then you can go about it a whole bunch of different ways. I don't care like at all, man. I don't ever want to talk to them. I don't want to hear from them. I want like rent coming in on the first and just leave me alone. And I'll make sure that anything that's ever damaged in the unit gets repaired immediately, right? Like that's the relationship I like a very quiet, passive relationship. Um, and like I've just no time for BS. So that's sort of my position there. And so I like to set my buildings up nice at the start, right? Like have them done properly so that the people that are talking to you, they're happy, right? They just moved out of their shitty apartment into your great place. Like you're their friend, right? Be their friend. My lovely tenant here brought me coffee the other day. I was like, thank you. That's freaking cool. I like that. Um, so Lady Space Patrol said, when arranging financing, potential rent is what matters, not actual rent. Example, acquiring property with two empty units will still be considered cash flow positive or neutral. Yeah, it depends on the lender, right? So like um I've been out of the financing through banks game for a little while, but guys like Equitable, and there's a bunch of other like little credit unions and stuff, and probably like Scotias of the world, like they'll look at the potential market rent. And what'll happen is like your appraiser will sort of give that in the appraisal report, right? So they'll give like the probable market rents or whatever. And the market rents on the appraisal reports are always just slightly lower than what you can actually get. So they kind of get you there a little bit, but at the same time, like whatever, it's empty, right? So, but you got to have a solid plan too. Like you got to be able to demonstrate to the bank, like you have the cash to execute the renovation and actually improve the space. And yes, the tenants are the wild card, right? You can't predict. And everybody lies on their resume, right? So they're lying on their application too. I'm sorry. I'm so freaking sick, but we're here and we're doing this. This is real people doing real shit here, right? People get sick. So DL's got when purchasing fully tenanted buildings with legacy tenants, land or rent, how do you price that into the purchase price with 2% increase for the foreseeable future? Yeah. Well, like that's the thing, right? So like if if you're buying them with legacy tenants, like I think depending on the size of the building, like people kind of assume like a 5% turnover or something, which is not a lot, right? You might get like 10% turnover so on like big buildings. So like I don't know, like if you're buying like a duplex and it's got like legacy tenants that have been there forever, like they're not going anywhere. I'm sorry. Like the easiest thing to do is to talk to them and like just be, hey, honestly, are you planning on leaving anytime soon or no? Right? Because like my tenants here are just like, I'm never leaving. Like I'm gonna die when the building dies. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Right? Like there's nothing you can do about that. So um I think from that perspective, like, yeah, I mean, just ask them, just talk to them, right? And develop a good positive relationship with them. And um as you go through time, like I'm gonna say something right now that's gonna just piss everybody off. I don't even do the 2% thing. Like, I don't care, man. On like these old contracts where like the 2% difference is like $5 a month. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, all that does is aggravate everybody, and it just doesn't matter, right? The right thing, of course, like, and especially if you have a large portfolio, 2% over a large number is actually still a large number. And that's the right thing to do. But again, like I just don't care anymore, right? So like that's the thing. Like you have to gauge where you're at in the journey of like what really matters. Cause like that 2%, it doesn't change my day, but it could actually change the day for my tenant. In the case of this specific building, right? So I'm like, I just don't care. Like if that's eating into their coffee budget or their laundry budget or whatever, I'm like, I don't need to do that. So it might hurt you later on refinancing, like, but really, like all your value is made on turnovers. So, like, when you actually get the turnover, go all out, right? Like, put 40 grand into the unit, do the flooring. Like this unit, I did flooring, paint, um, lighting, bathroom. I deleted a wall, moved the kitchen, moved a bedroom. So I basically moved the kitchen into a bedroom and moved the bedroom out into the where the like kitchen living room was. And it just made so much more sense for the space. Now the space is huge, and the renovation's incredible, and it costs like maybe 20 grand, maybe 10 grand. I don't remember. Somewhere between 10 and 20 grand, and it's like so much value add. But like now this would rent easily for 1,800, maybe 2,000, um, where before it was rented for 900, right? So that's where your real value is, not increasing. What the hell's 2%? My brain's not on, but 2% of 900, right? That's $18. $18. Dude, that means your tenant has to go work an extra hour, right? They got to go to work for an extra hour. You really want them to go to work for an extra hour so you can get 18 goddamn dollars. Like it's just come on, man. It just doesn't matter. Like leave it alone. But again, that's like my opinion on this specific building. If you've got a 50 unit mid-rise and you're like, listen, I'm going to raise 2% across $5 million. Well, yeah, go get it. Go get the bag. But here I'm choosing not to do that. And so for that, like I would just use your turnovers. Rockpile here says, does the above mean you want to buy in locations where students or contract workers rent since they are unlikely to stay for long? Um, yeah, that's one strategy, right? So there's like people always use the word passive, and that's just a farce. Like it's a lie. Nothing about real estate investing is passive. Not even lending, right? Like I've done lots of lending. Nothing passive there, right? Because people will just disappear with your money, and then you got to chase them down. It's a whole thing. Nothing's passive. But what people usually talk about on this point is like passive versus active income, right? The students is more active. You got to deal with the parents. You got to set up contracts for them. They're destructive. They're dirty and they're loud and they break bylaws, right? And you get in shit. And garbage is always a problem, right? And drywall. So there's that, but you can collect more rent and they always turn over, right? So if you get a bad batch, they're gone the next year, or worst case, 4 years. The same thing could be said with medium term things like employment. So like with contract workers, like Sarnia, for example, is getting all that work on the plant, and Windsor is getting like, $1 bazillion of infrastructure investment for their battery factories and that bridge being built. So like, investing there right now for medium term stuff is a really good idea because you could charge way more than regular market rent for long term stays, with no real downside, right? Now, the only thing with turnovers like that is you got to make sure you have a solid handyman or something like that in place um, so that when those turnovers occur, it's very quickly back on the market. Because the worst thing you could do is like have like a stale month and lose that delta, right? You would lose the difference between long-term and short-term rent immediately if you just lost 1 month of full rent, right? So you lose $4,000 of rent per month. Well, that makes up the difference of all the other months you were making that additional rent. So you got to be quick, you got to be effective. I don't think that's for like beginners or people that don't have a network, because it would just requires more turnovers, right? And on the student front, like the problem with student rentals is insurance is more expensive, and you're much more active. Like they always do dumb shit, like they break everything. So like window screens is like the most annoying thing for them, because like the randomly like some mom will show up from 9 hours away and be like, there's no screens in these windows. And then you're spending 8 hours trying to figure out how to use a spline to build a goddamn window screen. And you're like, this is like the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. And you're like, I'm doing this for $300 more a month, right? You're like, could have saved 10% or less by switching to Geico in 5 minutes, right? Call Geico, get your insurance down. It's better than managing students. Like, it's just like, holy shit. So, I think it just comes down to personal preference when we're talking about that type of thing. But my preference is much more on like no to anything active. And that's coming from the perspective too of somebody that, like, I've done student rentals, I've done Airbnbs, I've done house hacking with an Airbnb in it. I tried it all, and really nothing beats stable, good, solid tenants in good buildings. You know, like we talked about it last 2 weeks ago. We talked about it with Casey Wong, what he said, hold more cash, buy better buildings. It's the smartest thing anybody's ever said to me. And at the time I didn't realize it, but that's the actual answer, right? Hold more cash, buy better buildings, right? So like when you're thinking about whether or not you should buy the duplex or the triplex, or the triplex or the fourplex, it's like ideally you would not buy less than four, and you would find a way to make that be in a decent neighborhood and have it be purpose built. And so that every time you got a turnover, you could get that building just slightly closer to the absolute best version of itself, where it not only cash flows, but it gives you big chunks of equity out and lasts forever, right? In recent months, there seems to be, so this is Lady Space Patrol's comment. In recent months, there seems to be an epidemic of lease jumpers, people who shotgun applications at multiple landlords then pull out. How, if at all, have you been affected and deal with it? Um, well, I've been affected quite a bit by the pullout game, and this month was no exception. I actually had a commercial lease this month pull out on me, and it kind of sucked because I was really excited to just have this building be stabilized after a long time. And commercial, it's really weird, right? Like commercial after COVID small commercial has been kind of strange because like people weren't using offices as much, and um, it's just been a weird vibe since COVID. So, I bought this building maybe I guess over a year, well, sometime over a year ago. And I started working on that commercial unit and had it basically done for just before Christmas. And I was like, Jesus, like nobody's going to rent a commercial space before Christmas. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. So I was like, okay, well, like I'll put the pressure on in January when hopefully people are back at it, New Year's resolutions, trying to do stuff. And that was the case, right? People signed a lease with me. And technically, right, they owe me the money for the full lease, even though they canceled it because they already gave me the deposit. So they owed me like 18,000 or something. And I was just like, guys, like, they basically found out that like they couldn't do a certain business in my building because they didn't have the right paperwork or whatever. And I was like, hey, like I understand that. Like that's not, you probably should have done your homework, but I get it. So I ended up just keeping the deposit, but I let them off the hook and terminated that $18,000 freaking, you know, amount they would owe. But it sucks because I was really looking forward to that. That would have been nice cash to have. But yeah, I've definitely seen that. During COVID, we experienced that on one property. Um, on one property, we had one residential lease pull out after we were like totally set that it would go through. Um, and I'm not sure what happened there. I think it was kind of circumstantial. Like they found something else that was bigger, closer to the school or whatever. And that was like a master's student going to whatever the school is in London. So yeah, Western University. That's the one. Holy. But yeah, like that doesn't happen that often, right? And the thing is, like once you get the deposit, and that's why you gotta get a deposit. You just have to, right? So get a deposit on your lease and don't give it back. Like if they pull out, like sorry, man, but like there's real damage there because now you have to go re-advertise it, call back people that maybe were applied already. Maybe you have to go actually with a slightly less of a fit for the tenant. Like it's not actually a good thing for you to drop a tenant like that. So make sure you keep the deposit. Don't feel bad about that. Um, and that's how you deal with that. Yeah, deposit and certified funds, sure. Yeah, e-transfer. E-transfer is the best, right? You can't once it's deposited, it's yours. Like, I mean, that's it. That's all they wrote, right? Or cash. You know what it is. Do you have an ERP? Is that an app? What do you mean? Oh, like Yardi? No, I mean, like, no, you don't need that. You don't need that stuff until you get like a lot. Like until listen, if you have until you get like over 10 units, that stuff doesn't really matter. It gets kind of annoying if you buy buildings in small chunks. Like I own a bunch of single families that a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, and then a 24. That gets really annoying. Um, for the most part, like spreadsheets are fine, right? You don't need to go crazy because like the thing is you're gonna spend like $70 a month and that's gonna make up a lot of your cash flow. Um, Pete Pete has just put a panda in the comments because we were talking today with Hart from Rent Panda. Because he does like tenant screening and stuff, but they don't do software for that. One second, guys. Holy shit. I feel terrible. Um, Rent Panda doesn't do that, but no, I do know about Yardi. And in fact, I already actually failed a software company trying to build something cool for this problem. Actually, I could rebuild it today in like 10 minutes with AI software tools that are out there. So I probably should try and just do that. But yeah, like you don't need it at the start, right? Like create a Google Drive for real estate investing, create a folder for your property, create like subfolders for like where the money goes, what the tenant's information is, all their documents, all the information for the building. And let me just see if I have a folder like that set up that I can show you without blasting anything. Um, I just set up folders with subfolders and organize things, right? Um, because like it's just the simplest way to do it. And then you can, oh God, yeah, good thing I didn't have this screen share up because like there's just credit cards and just crazy shit all over this. But yeah, so like I don't know if I just open it up, so I'll just walk you through it. Like it's my folders goes real estate investing and then properties, and then I have like this older property here, and then inside that I have a folder for all the photos that were ever taken for it, And for photos I have before and after, I have so I have before and after. I have photos then of the Airbnb listing. I have the docs, like a doc for the Airbnb um description, like actual text that I used for the descriptions and everything. I have a folder called legal. In the legal folder, there is the agreement of purchase and sale. There is the purview, which is like kind of the mortgage statement. Um, there's the waiver for the like making it firm. There's um, tax bill and amortization schedule. And then just all my other documents. And then I've just got a financial folder that keeps a spreadsheet on it. But yeah, like if you want to use Yardi, like I guess getting back to my point is if you're making $300 a month in cash flow from your one building, and then you spend $70 of that on like a subscription or something, and I don't know what Yardi costs, so like don't crucify me here, but like you know what I mean. But that's just all I'm trying to say. Like if you're using 1/4 of your cash flow to like use an organization tool and you've got one building and 4 tenants, it just like it just doesn't matter. Now, there's something to be said about setting your business up right from the start, but the problem is that like people spend way too much time on setting shit up than actually doing the thing, right? Like it's a way better problem. It's a way better problem to like have way too many properties and not have it organized than it is to like have a super organized system that has nothing going through it. And I've seen this problem way too many times in business where I'm like, man, like revenue is the problem. Like that's the only actual problem. Get more money. If there's not more money coming in, then none of this stuff matters. And if there is all the money coming in, none of this stuff matters. Like you'll figure out the organizational tools. But yeah, I think Yardi is a good tool. Like people use it, right? It exists for a reason and it has the success that it has for a reason. But I'm just saying, like, if you're just getting started, like, I mean, buy 10 buildings first and then figure it out. But I'm also so people too, right, have different personality types. We did all sorts of looking at that with my company, right? We would do these personality tests that would tell you kind of like how people learn. It would tell you about yourself and tell you how people learn. And you know, it was really eye opening because people are so different. Like my personality type is like a maverick, right? Like I just want to do shit. I don't want to hear about like anything else. I just want to get it done. And the result of me getting it done is what I'll show you later, right? Where there's like people that are way more analytical and they need to have like a plan as to how they're going to get it done. And they need to execute that plan by the letter. And that's the only way that the plan is going to actually get executed is if it's all written down with an implementation plan and a strategy and all that. And like for me, I just need to know the goal. And I'm like, oh, I'll just go get the goal. So everybody's kind of different, right? So if you're more of that analytical type and you need that plan and you need the how you're going to implement it, perfect. Like, you know, with my work with the army, there's it's called battle procedure, right? It's 16 steps and it's like it's thorough. It takes hours to go through battle procedure. And really what it is it's kind of detailing literally everything that could possibly happen. Right. But the problem is it's like what Ali said, right? He's like, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the face. Right. So just like at least be aware of that. So um that's my 2 cents on that. You can get really far with some basic internet tools. Yeah, guys, I think yeah, I'm sorry there wasn't a lot of MLS stuff tonight because like honestly the MLS was just pretty stale, but I think we still got a decent talk out of this. I used like half a roll of toilet paper here blowing my nose, so that's probably my sign to jump off. But I appreciate everybody that stayed on, and Lady Space Patrol, I really appreciate your engagement tonight. Thank you so much. As well as Rockpile. I think that was really great. And Cody, oh shoot, I missed Cody. Oh, Cody, I'm sorry. We got a comment here from Cody Allen. It says, besides living in the multifam, is there any ways to get into one without doing 20% down? Yeah, of course. So, hey, whoa, hold on. Cody, I hope you already know this, but this might blow your mind if you don't, but you can do 5% down on those. You can do 5% down on a fourplex for sure. 100% guaranteed. You can do that. I think actually, don't quote me on this, but you might be able to do it up to like 5 or 6 units. But for sure, um, you can do it. And the understanding is that it's going to be your primary residence. Yes. Okay. Right. So, like, yeah, you got to say that. But, you know, who's to say? Who's to say that's what's happening? Anyways, guys, come on. Don't make me say illegal stuff on the channel. It's ridiculous. And thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the I'm always available for you guys. I hope you know that. But yeah, if you guys have more questions or you want to follow up, just reach out to me on Instagram. I got to get off here before you guys like unsubscribe because this is me just being my maximum sick. But we do have market updates coming for you. We just started shooting the ones for January. So and like we're always 1 month behind, right? Because they release the stats. They release the stats the next month. But yeah, like the updates are coming. Markets are looking actually pretty good. I think spring market's going to be exciting. And we've got a bunch more content coming from you. We've just talked to a lot more people about getting some more specialized content coming. So I'm excited for what we've got coming for you. And I think you'll be excited too. And I think spring's going to be fun. So if you are looking to invest right now, man, I think we're heading into more deals. We're heading into more inventory, at least to pick from. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, if you're not already, get subscribed. I'll see you next Tuesday. I will not look like this, I promise. And we'll sound a lot better and we'll have some more content here for you. So thank you, everybody. And if you brought a beer, cheers. If you brought a tea, I don't know. Do you cheers teas? It seems like very uncouth, if you ask me. But anyhow, Pete, let's roll out of here. Cody, I'm glad I got to your question. I'm glad that helps. If you have any further questions, it's Adam JD Martin on all profiles. And you can download that calculator I was using today at adamjdmartin.com/learn. Okay. Good night, everybody.